Alrighty then. Hello and welcome everyone, my guest speaker and everyone involved. We just jump in back to back. We just had a workshop session on list building, so everyone will be jumping into this link. So I guess probably we can start without much further ado this time. Let me find a way to share the right tab on my screen. Yes. Awesome. All right. So with me, Tas, hello,
Hello.
founder at the Scroll Lab. I'll let you introduce yourself properly in a second. My name is MJ. To anyone who's joining in, I'm the co-founder of ZenABM. 5 words for about housekeeping rules and essentially ZenABM. So the recording of this session will be available on our YouTube channel by the end of the day. All of the past recordings are already uploaded as well. There is a link to Slack invite with Resource Center. So there are recordings, any templates, materials, and everything else. I'll put it on chat in a second. If you have any questions to ask, keep them coming via chat or Q&A. We will be going through them as they come. And yeah, a couple of words about ZenABM. Probably everyone is super tired of me speaking about this, but ZenABM is a tool for running ABM campaigns on LinkedIn. It essentially gives you a proper insight into company level data, job title level data, with intent, with account scoring, with full insight into the customer journey, with deal attributions for you to understand how the impressions, engagements, and clicks you had actually contributed to deals being opened and closed. We have full analytics on your pipeline, how much you're closing, opening, pipeline per dollar, ROAS. You don't need to build these dashboards yourself. We have them ready for you out of the box. With an AI agent on top, Zina will answer any questions you guys might have about your data and how things are going. And yeah, try it for free, 37-day free trial, so 5 weeks where you can test it out, make sure it fits in your process. Code Bootcamp 10% off, valid till the end of the bootcamp. And yeah, I powered through this one this time. But that's great. Tas, I'm giving the microphone to you, actually, like this. And yeah, take it away.
All right. Okay. So, welcome everybody. For those that do not know me, my name is Tass Bober, pronounced like Sass Sober. And I'm actually very excited because I've given lots of talks on landing pages, but never one on ABM landing pages specifically. I do get asked a lot of questions from clients, from people. So, this was great. This was a great, fun exercise for me to also put together all of my thoughts on ABM landing pages in one spot. So you're seeing it here for the first time. If you've seen me talk before, you would have seen some of these slides before, but most of them are new. So I'm very, very excited to get started. Please ask me lots of questions. I'm going to try to leave enough room because that's the best part is just hearing what everybody has to say, answer questions, people calling me out, all my favorite things. Okay. Are we ready? Yes?
I think
Yes?
we are.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here. My favorite part, slide decks. Don't worry, I only have 37 slides for you. Sorry. Death by PowerPoint. Okay, let me know if you can see everything. I guess I'll go into
Looks good.
presenter mode. Perfect. Okay, let me know if you can still see. Sometimes when I go full
Yes,
screen, you can't.
looks even
Okay,
better.
great. Okay, so why your ABM campaigns deserve better landing pages. We're going to talk about this. But wait, but wait. It's probably some chitter chatter, right? Hey, Tass, we personalize the ad. Isn't that enough? Do I even need ABM landing pages? Right? Because we find a lot of landing pages just go to the homepage. We have all the information on the site. Why do we send it somewhere else? Won't this take forever to scale? My favorite. That was probably Mia underscore studio is probably a CEO. And then Beyonce submitted her question, which is we already have a vertical page. Does that count? I made all these people up just so there's no confusion. But these are the common questions that I get a lot. So we're going to go through the first question, which is why should you even send your ads to a landing page, right? And I made up a cute little framework so that it's easy to remember. And we're going to call these the 4 Ps, not the 4 Ps of marketing, the 4 Ps of why you should send your ads to a landing page. Number one, the promise, pinky promise, right? Better ad to landing page relevancy creates a better user experience. I always use this example, which is if I'm searching for pants and I see an ad for pants and I click on the pants ad and I'm so excited and then they just drop me on the homepage, and then I have to go find the pants page, how mad am I on a scale of 1 to 10? It's 15. Okay. So you want to deliver on the promise of the ad. That's just common sense, decent human experience, right? Number two, policies. Not only is this a nice to have anymore, it's actually kind of a requirement now. So if you're running Google ads and you are not sending them to a dedicated landing page that is relevant to the ad, Google is not showing your ads anymore, no matter how much money you chuck at it. Okay. And this is an announcement they made last February. I've been evangelizing it for a while, but still, there are a lot of people who don't know this. Okay. Three, precision. You control exactly who you want to send to the page, right? So it's not like MJ's mom has come to the ZenABM's homepage. She's really proud of him. So she's spending a lot of time there. And you're thinking, as a marketer on the other side, dang, we have such an engaged audience. Oh, she's interacting with the About Us page really well. Let's optimize that. Let's show that up. You're making judgments based on incorrect data, okay, at best. And then finally, the proof, right? How many times I've worked in-house at B2B marketing companies for like 15 years. I've led 3 digital marketing teams and website teams. I can tell you right now, even though I was in charge of the website, if I made one change on the homepage, you know how many people I had to run it through? Okay, my boss's boss. Oh, I have to get the CYA from legal. I have to ask the product team, am I accurately representing this? When you have your own landing pages as a marketer, it's kind of like your playground. You get to test theories out. You get to rapidly make changes. You get to make sure that you're making decisions based on specific people that you want to send there, on your customers or prospects, right? Most likely prospects. This also with the assumption that the platforms are sending the right people and your campaigns are set up correctly. Asterisk, asterisk. So the 4 Ps: promise, policies, precision, and proof. Here are some numbers to drive my point in case you don't believe me. Customized landing pages actually increase conversions by 68%. Okay? Crazy number. 77% of ad clicks in B2B go to the homepage. Why? I want pants. Why are you not sending me to the pants page, right? Even though dedicated landing pages convert 23% higher than the homepage. ABM landing pages perform better than generic pages by 2 to 3 times as much. And then personalized ABM landing pages convert at 34% more than regular landing pages. Cool. Okay. Can everybody say yeehaw if you're like, all right, I'm on board with creating dedicated landing pages? Okay, cool.
I can say, yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so now you're doing landing pages because I convinced you, but now I'm going to tell you why they suck. Okay. You've done the work. You're like, great, I have these landing pages. I listened to tasks. They're still not working. Why are they working? I'm going to tell you why. Okay. It's not really our fault because I just did this search last week. I was like, let's see what the best practices are out there for these ABM landing pages. Okay. This is from an article from like CMO.com or something. So all the CMOs are over here sending you articles from this website saying, hey, why aren't we doing personalized ABM landing pages? But this is what they're saying on there. This is what personalized ABM landing pages look like. Personalization tokens. So use placeholders and replace it with personalized content like company name to enhance engagement. Number 2, segmentation. Divide your audience into groups based on common characteristics or interests, allowing for tailored content creation. Okay. 3rd, dynamic content blocks. Show or hide content sections based on criteria like location or industry. But then what that ends up doing is giving you a page like this. Hey, I'm Dale from AdRoll. Hey, remember me? I'm Dale from AdRoll. Or these are my favorites, right? Hey, Claudia, please buy from me. There's your first name token. Okay. Hey, Microsoft, what's up? Do you know what good is bad data? I don't know. Okay. Hey, guess what? We work with financial services companies. I can tell you right now. So obviously I'm on the marketing side, but when I was in-house, I had budgets up to $10 million as the person who's heading digital and website. I know that was like the best job when I had $10 million. Most of the time I was like $1 million. Okay. So $10 million, I didn't even know how to spend it. It was a great couple years of my life. When I had those budgets, though, I can tell you one thing. I've never ever bought from a company just because they used my first name or my company name or my title or my industry. None of that. I wasn't like, ooh, they know my name is Tass. They know my mom's name is Tass. Fun fact, my mom's name is also Tass. Um, oh, and then by the way, we got to make this scale. Easy, right? You have a token, make it scale. Everybody gets a landing page. Everyone gets an ABM landing page. Cool. I'm ready for my 34% increase in conversions now. Okay, but let's moment of silence for all the failed campaigns and all the marketers with crippled hands because they were busy building 60 variations of these pages, right? We did get something right, though. We did get one part right, which is we looked for commonalities in our target accounts. But the problem is that we focused on the wrong ones. So we focused on their names, we focused on their titles, on their industry, their location. Oh, you're in Seattle, I'm going to send you that. We were focusing on this. And that's not the commonalities that we actually need to focus on that actually would make ABM landing pages that can scale. Okay, Tass, we get it. We suck. We're not doing anything right. What do you want us to do? This is what I want you to do. I want you to create for where and not for who. And by where, I don't mean Seattle. By where, I mean where they are in the stage progression within the accounts, right? So this is what it looks like. The who landing pages is where we firmly sit. So personalization looks like this: first name, logos, job titles, verticals. The content, it's the same content. We just swap out these tokens and we think that's good enough. The buyer experience, they're like, oh, they know my name, kind of creepy. Okay. Value to sales, probably low quality MQLs, no context for conversations because everybody's having the same conversation. And scalability, yeah, it's scalable, but very superficially, right? Again, token based. But when you're looking at where landing pages, you're looking at the buying stage progression, right? Engaged, unaware, not engaged. I mean, it's very simple marketing funnel, ABM funnel, right? Content, you can talk about a specific problem, use case, or decision moment. Where are they in the research of buying, right? There's another statistic, and it's in here somewhere, but 70% of the buying behavior and research is done before they even engage with you. So what are you supplying them in that moment while they're looking up, while they're looking at the research? Buyer experience now goes from, ooh, that's kind of creepy, to, oh, I was actually wondering about that objection. Or, oh, I was actually wondering how you compared to X competitor. I was wondering about your pricing for X number of users, right? Your value to sales, the leads are better informed, they have stronger intent, and your deals actually do move quicker because you've equipped the buyer to self-qualify. So one of my favorite sayings is, you trust your buyer to make $50,000, $100,000 decisions, right? Buying a tool from you, but you don't trust them enough to give them the information to make that decision in the first place. We send them on this wild goose chase. And then the scalability is actually quite easy because if you have your stage progressions, you only need to create 5 or 6 pages for each stage. And then you use a tool like ZenABM to identify the accounts that are within each stage, because the reality is they go back and forth between multiple stages. What are you going to do? Keep changing your Wells Fargo ABM page to have different information every time? That's the part that's not scalable. Okay. So who landing pages look like this? And this is how we were taught. And this is how I'd done them too. Trust me. Okay. Generic template, ABM template, tokens in an Excel sheet, company name, first name, industry, logo, some other BS I'd put on there. And then Oprah's over there saying, we did it. We scaled, right? And it could work. I would be impressed if you got some of these tokens on there, like my favorite genre, gangster rap. Hey, where's Snoop Dogg at? I had him in here initially. Behavioral red flag, blast music and SUV like a 17-year-old. That's what I do. Communication style, I communicate mainly through memes or text, or Amelia knows, through voice notes where I'm making B2B parodies. That's my favorite pastime. My coffee order, I like cortados, but most of the time I drink Americanos. And by the way, everyone calls me Taz with a Z. But guess what? You can you can be as specific as you want, right? It will still not help me buy your tool. What are you helping me do in terms of making the buying decision? So it does not matter if you know me inside and out, if that doesn't help me with what I need to justify the purchase of your tool. So here's where landing pages, how they work, right? In the simplest form, if you have a single product targeting a single audience, you need essentially these 5 pages. 1, product. These are the unaware to early interest. What is this? What does it do? Maybe they're looking for a problem, maybe not, whatever it is, right? So what is this? Then the comparison, which is more now, okay, you've kind of got my attention. How does this stack up against not just other competitors? How does this stack up with my current workflow, the status quo? Fun fact, 60% of deals are lost to status quo, not to a competitor. Third, trust, right? If someone says ZenABM reviews, are you providing the validation? Are you owning that story, or are you letting G2 own that story? This is a landing page that's so underrated that not many companies do. Obviously, pricing, even a starting range, yes, you can do it. I have a client with a starting point of $30,000. They put starting range on there, and let me tell you, flooded with people who were in their ICP, who are able to afford them because you're letting them self-qualify, right? And then your demo, a sign up, whatever it is. Okay, I want to learn more. I want to talk. So this is where you can only create somewhere between 5 to 12 pages, depending on how many products you have. And that's the scalable part where you can go from 5 to 12 pages, not hundreds. You're creating for a moment in the buying stage, not a single buyer, right? And you can use it across accounts with shared context, and then use a tool like ZenABM or others to identify what accounts are going there and identify where they're going in between that, how much interaction they're having, and what stage they're all sitting in. You can also do it the opposite way. Identify the accounts and what stage they're sitting in first, and then that's how you segment your lists and target your ads, okay? Now you're going to say, well, what should I put on the landing pages? It's a business case. I can show you, pull up a different slide deck of what I actually had to pitch internally when I was trying to pitch for ZoomInfo's form enrichment tool. And I took that requirements doc, the business case thing that I had to do a Taylor Swift tour inside my company just to get approval on the budget, on the implementation. And I'm like, man, if ZoomInfo just put this on a landing page and I didn't even have to build this stupid deck, and I could just pull up this landing page and show my boss, you know how much faster this deal would have gone? I would have been like, immediately, yes, take my money, right? So you're going to answer these questions, not as a marketer, not as the CEO of the company. You're going to answer these questions in terms of, hey, what does my buyer need to champion me internally? And answer those questions. What are you? Are you for me? Not revenue generating platform. If you're a video tool, say you're a video tool, okay? Do you know my problems? Why do you exist? How do you solve those exact problems? Are you credible and work with peers like me? What do you cost, even a starting range? And what is the process I can expect if I do engage with you? Okay. Okay, now you're like, well, okay, great. How do I measure this? We kind of talked about using a tool like that. But first, my favorite slides I love to show every talk so that everybody can see it. We need a level set. This is what the buying journey looks like. And this was from Gartner in 2019. That was like 200 years ago in B2B SaaS, okay? So this is what the journey looks like. You cannot control this journey, okay? They're going through a whole bunch of stuff that's happening. This is the Taylor Swift tour that's happening in the back. All we're seeing is problem, solution, requirements, and selection. No, there's a lot. 70% of the customer journey takes place outside of the sales pipeline. This is Dream Data's data based on their customer. 211 days is the standard customer journey. So if you're sitting here and still measuring based on last touch or conversions, you're too late, my friend. So you need to look at leading indicators, how they're consuming the information. Am I giving them the right information, right? Typical B2B customer journey has 76 touches. So if you're sitting there going, everybody's coming to my landing page and then they're bouncing, yeah, they're going to bounce and they're going to come back and they're going to come back 31 more times and then probably convert on the 47th time. Or you know what? Not convert on your landing page and go directly to your website and convert there. And then you're sitting there in your reporting meeting going, direct was up this month, but our paid's been really shitty. So cut it, cut the paid budget, cut it, right? Okay, typical B2B customer journey, 6.5 or more, 7 buyer stakeholders. Typical B2B customer journey takes place through 3.5 channels. Okay. This is hockey stack data from a couple years ago, which is for low ACV product, it takes 31 touch points to become an MQL. 31. Okay. So stop doing conversion rate optimization. You can't control their journey, but you can control the information that you provide. Those are the things that's going to actually move the needle in the right direction. So I need you to focus on 2 areas. One, how they're consuming information, then how they're converting. Because if they've converted, they've already done 80% of the work. So you're too busy optimizing for that 20% when so much is happening before that. Okay. So how do you do that with consumption? You use tools like any website analytics that you have. You don't need a whole bunch of crazy things. You use an ABM tool if it's an ABM specific campaign. Use heat mapping. Hotjar gives you 2,000 sessions a month for free. So I think Clarity is free. And then obviously using your CRM, talking to your salespeople, figuring out what is winning deals, what isn't, and driving those home. And then I'm going to say, does it work? You're going to notice I'm speeding through this because I want questions and I want to have a discussion, but I'm just level setting here. I can always flip back if you want me to pull up a different slide. So does it work? These are not ABM specific, but they are buyer stage specific. And so when we did that and supplied the buyer with information ahead of time, we went from 0.13% to 3.73% meetings booked. That was the CTA on that page. This is a PLG example on the right side. And just looking at how they were consuming information, this is my favorite example. Snagit had the set of FAQs, and we saw that 15% of the clicks were on the 4th FAQ on this landing page. And we're like, what the heck is going on with the 4th FAQ? And then we saw that the objection was, hey, this is a lifetime purchase. What if I change devices? And so we brought that and made it its own block, and the purchases skyrocketed. That's, again, all based on consumption data, not based on conversion data. If we were only optimizing based on conversions, that's not something we would have picked up, right? So you have to see, especially in B2B, the information that we're supplying them. Are they consuming it? What are they most interested in? And then highlighting those portions in there. There's some nice things my clients have said about me here. I won't brag, but I also will brag just a little bit because they like the landing page work, right? We're talking about relevancy. We're talking about setting up these campaigns, and we're playing the long game here. But that is basically my gigantic ABM deck that I flew through, but I want to answer questions. So let's answer questions.
I think we have some starting to flow in. So I didn't quite understand the where versus who logic. The landing pages you are showing right now, do they follow the where logic?
They
The
follow the where
examples.
logic. Yes. So for example, I'll show you. These 2 pages right here, on the left-hand side is a sales-led, it's a comparison page, as you can see. Why people are picking Conveyor over Loopio. That is kind of the, where are they in the buying journey? They're evaluating multiple vendors and options, right, at this stage. Instead of shitting on our competitors, we're actually giving them and using voice of the customer so you can see, but doesn't Loopio autofill questionnaires too? Yes, they do. This is how we do it a little bit differently, our methodology versus theirs. We're not crapping on them. There's no matrix for all of this stuff. And then you have on the right side with Snagit, this is a product landing page. So this is the one where someone who's unaware about the product can come in here and get a quick snapshot of, what does Snagit do for technical writers, right? So they're where. Okay.
We have more questions flowing in. So one question is using tools like Lovable, and any downsides of hosting these landing pages on Lovable and Lovable domain to deploy them fast?
Great question. Great question. It's one of my favorite questions. Okay. So Ultimately, it depends on your situation. I know no one likes to hear those answers, but I'll tell you what it depends on. If you have a website that is very structurally sound, say you move to like a Webflow has a lot of components and component based sites. You want to, in the best case scenario, create landing pages on your main website when it's these kind of landing pages. When it's we're talking about stage progression, we're talking about these pages because what happens is these pages are going to inform your main website strategy, right? So if you have a product page and you're rapid testing and you learn these things, you're going to want to apply it to the primary product page that's on your main website. That's easy to do if you're using the same CMS and you can just transfer a component over to that main page versus having to recreate it if you've done it on an outside tool. Okay. So if you have a really sound website CMS and system going, do it within your CMS on the same domain. That's always going to be better. Okay. Now, when you would use an individual tool, maybe you use HubSpot, maybe you're going to use some like Event One, Unbounce, whatever that is, right? Those are great for one-off. Maybe you have a gated ebook or something like that. You want to just get stuff really quickly. Cool. You're a marketer who wants to move fast. You don't want a lot of like dev work, that kind of thing. Do it. If you feel like you're going to have to get a lot of stakeholder approval, you're maybe running on a WordPress site that's like terrible to try to create anything on, use an external tool to do it. Get a subdomain so at least it's somewhat tied to your stuff. But if we're thinking about speed versus perfection, definitely I'm not against those tools, but if it's something where you're like, this is a long running, I mean, these landing pages are evergreen. You're not really going to turn them off. So at some point, you're going to have to recreate them on your CMS. Why not just do it there in the first place? So put in a little bit of effort in the beginning, but I have clients who do both, and it's not a bad thing because unlike organic pages, it's not like it needs it to get picked up. But whatever gives you, the marketer, the most sense of control and then lowers the risk of having to redo a ton of work in the future.
Okay, cool. That's a very exhaustive answer, I think. Yeah, Emilia asks, is there anything one should do differently for LinkedIn and ad landing pages versus Google cold search, considering the audience landing on the latter has presumably higher buying intent?
Yeah, presumably. I'm going to show you how I'm going to pull out. Hopefully my client does not mind that I'm showing this page. So, you know how we usually do, we'll do, as marketers, we're taught keyword research, ad campaigns, build the ads. Oh, and the landing page is kind of an afterthought. I'm going to challenge you to flip that. So what happens is when you start with like, oh, an ad or the campaign or the keyword, then you run into this issue where you're like, oh crap, I got to create 60 landing pages to match each keyword, match each campaign and the ads, and then the relevancy piece isn't there, and I'm not going to meet these platform requirements. So the way to do that easily is to start from the landing page. So you create the landing pages with all these various stages, right? In the buying research, the buying journey, whatever you want to call it. From there, then you take that landing page, you can then use it in like what's it called, a keyword planner. You could get keywords based on the landing page that you already have and start to create then keyword examples that would come from that, headline variations and description variations. Now you have multiple ads you can run to this page, and you're still going to be relevant because it was sourced from this page. This page, the landing page, is the hub. Your campaign is not the hub, right? That is your source of truth, is your landing page. Same thing as each page here, you're going to start with that. So this is from a search perspective. If someone's looking at IT technician marketplace, right? We're giving them what that is as a first touch. Maybe they're searching for a problem, whatever, that's going to come into the product landing page. If they're looking at what are IT labor marketplace options or something like that, or best IT field service solution, you can give them the comparison page. So based on what they're looking for, you can give them the appropriate landing page because it started from the landing page itself. This is for search. Now with social, you do it a little bit differently, but you're still starting with the landing page. So your product landing page, probably being a prospecting type campaign for people who are unaware, don't know who you are. you can start to run ad variations around specific use cases, specific capabilities, or specific pain points. Now they've seen this. Maybe you retarget them then with, oh, hey, what are some alternatives? What are, competitor specific ones? What is us versus the status quo? Is Field Nation a better choice for IT labor? What is this competitor versus us, right? Again, it's all comparison based. You can retarget them with that. You can then retarget the stages that are a little bit later where they're like kind of vetting you to make sure that you're legit against the peers. You run the retargeting there with the trust landing page. And then you have the demo page. The thing is, most B2B companies will just create this demo page. But I always say it's like asking somebody to marry you before you've gotten to know them, right? So you need to respect the stages they're going through in their research and provide them with the information based on that. So combined with the information on your platform, for example, with the engaged accounts, unaware accounts, whatever, right? And then mapping that to each of the pages that it would go to versus, oh, I'll create the ads first and then we'll see.
Okay, cool. Next question is actually kind of tied to it. Can you show
Yes.
like two or three examples that you are really proud of the pages, how they turned out? Do you have any in mind that
Well, the two-stage progression ones I showed you, I can show you in terms of like, I'm actually just gonna pull up workspaces now, so you guys are gonna see this. Probably violating like 15 NDAs right now.
please
I'll tell
everyone
you.
close your eyes now for a
Yeah,
second?
everybody close your eyes for 1 second. No, just kidding. Some of these they don't really care. Um, eyes closed. Okay, so this is kind of like how we do it. So put all the design stuff aside, right? When we're thinking about like the layout of the story and the progression. So if we're looking here, we have like if it's like per segment. So we have this internal comms champion. This is their introductory page. They've never heard of my client Unily before, but we're kind of introducing it to them based on their angles and personas. So that's going to be kind of like your first page. And then they go and they recreate this, in their own design and that kind of stuff. But you can see that we tell the story of like the largest capabilities, what are the problems that we're solving, how we solve them specifically for the internal comms, how these other internal comm champions, how they're doing it, answering the objections in the FAQ, and then making the ask in the bottom. So these are kind of the philosophies we follow for a lot of the pages. Where's my comparison page? Okay, so here's reviews, right? My favorite page ever, underrated, no one does it. And it's a whole page that's just voice of the customer. Instead of Unily saying, hey, we're the market leading internet tool, it's literally a quote from a customer, right? Then we reinforce with the logos. And then one thing that I found, people don't read deep case studies, but is there a way that we can tell the story of the case studies on these pages in a short form where people can get the gist of it, right? Without having to read through the deep case studies. So this is where we start to like bring these things together and tell the story. And when you start with the landing page and you're telling that story, and then you put out the different notches, right? The different like campaigns, linking out, doing all of those things, it becomes easier to create the ads. Because then what happens? Say you get this page done, your ad can literally say something like, we were dealing with masses of information, or 99% adoption rate by 6,000 staff. And then when you come to this page, that stat exists here and you're still keeping that relevancy piece going, right? This will actually, instead of sitting here racking a brain for ad ideas, you just put all your energy into the landing page and the ads kind of write themselves. 24K number of views, brand compliant DIY, 5 million users, so whatever you want to do, right? You can even do one of these quotes in the ads. It makes everything else downstream a lot easier.
I gotta ask a tiny follow-up on this because I can't help but notice that the ask is usually at the bottom of these pages.
Yes.
Are people scrolling so far to actually see the form? Shouldn't it be maybe a bit that higher? I don't know, like
Yes.
enlighten us.
We're gonna answer that question. So back to my analogy about asking me to marry you before I've gotten to know you, right? I have a very high give to ask ratio, meaning I want to give them so much information or the right information, not overwhelm them with the right information, but I want to give them so much that it's almost a no-brainer for them to want to engage with me, right? So the other piece is you'll notice another requirement that Google has now is they want a navigation on these landing pages. What are marketers taught? No nav. No nav. I remember even 2 years ago, I was writing posts about like kill the navigation, like rah rah, like you have a navigation on your page, that's it. I'm putting you on blast or whatever. And then I had to swallow my pride because Google's like, no, we want a navigation on the page. That's really important. And so we do this thing that's kind of halfway, which is an anchor nav. And what happens is I did it by accident. It was by arguing with my client. Finally, we decided on the anchor nav. And the anchor nav is basically a navigation that's specific to the landing pages, and then they anchor to different sections on the page, right? So we're telling the story here. This is kind of like if you think of it like the agenda in a book, right? Like the menu, and then you're making your way through the story, right? What to expect, and then down here. And this is where we learned that the most interacted with block on any landing page. I've worked on 400, lots of websites, lots of landing pages. Most interactive with block is the FAQ block, which is usually on the bottom of every page. Then the testimonials. So in the same vein of having everything anchor, you have your primary CTA sprinkled on the page, right? Get a demo, request a demo, whatever, talk to whoever. These anchor down to the CTA block. And what that ends up doing is it gives you more real estate to showcase the product or provide them with more value before you make an ask of them. The only page where I'm like, hey, you can put the form up top is the demo page because they're probably at the end of the line. They're ready. You're just kind of like trying to make that, you're trying to make them just take that final step to talk to you. And then you'll also notice that in the CTA block, when we finally do make that ask and it anchors down, we set expectations with them because B2B is so bad at this. I think Tim Davidson was the one who went and like submitted a form to God knows how many companies. And then one company called him back like 263 days after he had submitted the form. He's like, who is this? So B2B is so bad about that. Like marketers are pressured to deliver leads and then like we're not following up on the leads or we're not contacting them at an appropriate time interval. So we do a two-way thing here, which is we set the expectation because you have to think about it from your user's perspective or your buyer's perspective. Their only point of leverage is the information they have. That's what they're holding really close to their chest, right? And they know if they give it to you, they're going to be harassed to no end. So in order for them to make that decision, they have to know that you are going to respect their information and respect their time, especially if they're prospects in Europe where there are laws to protect them on the stuff. You want to make sure that you're justifying them giving them that information, right? So, hey, you're going to fill out this form. We will contact you within 24 hours. One of my clients said, we will contact you in 6 seconds. I'm like, oh, I love that. Great. 6 seconds is their promise. We're going to schedule an initial discovery call, and then we'll show you a custom demo because we found that sometimes they get mad when they don't get a demo right away. So we set those expectations, 2 to 3 steps, and we find that they fill out the form a lot more because they say, oh, wow, this company actually respects my time and my information. Okay, that makes it worth it to give. So yeah, you don't need to put a form up top. You just need to make it accessible. And I think that's the biggest thing is you sprinkle the CTA every couple of blocks, and then they're able to anchor down and go there if they wish, but you're not taking away real estate where you could provide value instead of trying to make it transactional and take from them at every turn.
Yeah, and there's actually a follow-up question on this. Could you repeat some of the earlier CTA examples, like earlier stage CTA examples that come before Book a Demo that you would build a landing page around, essentially?
Yeah, you don't have to build a full-on landing page. I'm trying to find one. I don't even know if this one is in here. There's a lot in here, so I have to like think about. There's a page where we do some of the earlier pages will say something like CY us. So that's kind of like the beginning, especially if it's a first touch page, you can say right under the hero, instead of saying get a demo, because it's really early, right? Like let's get married. It's like learn why. I actually just did an audit with this client, and it's not a landing page, but one thing I really liked about their page, they're getting free advertising right now, is they have a why us thing here. And most B2B companies love to hide the why us because it's not really that differentiated. But they
Mhm.
have a whole thing that's here. And so I told them, I'm like, hey, you can have your primary CTA, right? Don't get rid of this, put that down there. But you can actually say, okay, I want to be a guide, not a seller. I'm going to try to prove to you why I'm a good match, right? So similarly, if you're dating someone and they're like, I'm going to prove to you that I'm a good person, like I'm a good, good person to potentially date, you're going to have that conversation with them. So what we do is we take advantage a lot of those anchor links and say, okay, why Brock? I told them bring right now goes to a different page, but I think they could do a block that says why are we different. What's his name? Colin Majak. They just put it on their website, just a block that says, why would you pick us? Why are we different from the other options? You could anchor this to some place like that and take them through that story intentionally versus just asking like, get a demo, get a demo, get a demo. So that's something that we're adopting as well, is taking them to that story. The other benefit is when you then have a heat map and you're seeing all these clicks come through, you can actually see what they're interacting with, and saying, oh, they're super interested in this block. Maybe I move that up. They're super interested in this FAQ, things like that. Or this section, right? They love this section. So can we move that up? Can we highlight it better? What can we do that's
Mhm.
better, more useful?
Okay, Emma asks, any hot takes on the creative to get users to these landing pages?
Yeah, using that same document that I told you, I think the biggest thing is one, B2B is really boring with the ads, but two, that's okay. I think that you see a lot of arguments on LinkedIn, like, oh, clear versus clever, blah, blah, blah. And for me, I'm like, okay, in the absence of both, I'd rather you be relevant and compliant, right? Because that's the things that are going to actually even show your ad to the right people. LinkedIn's also doing a lot of like reading of the ads now and reading of the posts and things like that. So if you're running like thought leadership ads and things like that, they're really scanning a lot of the content. Also, those of us who live on LinkedIn, like me, is it like the most advanced algorithm out of all the social media platforms? No, it's terrible. But this is like from their mouths, what their algorithm is doing is more interest based. And I think it's going to be really important to call out your ICP in the ads, not in a keyword stuffing way, in a way that's just like intentional.
Mhm.
I've been doing it with my organic posts where I will say B2B landing pages. You'll notice that in my posts now where I will say B2B landing pages a couple of times just to make sure that it's reading that and then reading your company and then determining, oh, this is relevant. I'm going to show it to the right people. So I would just say relevancy and compliance. So make sure you're sticking to their rules because that'll give you a better chance of success. Don't worry about being too fancy. Don't be like my last company that had a state of report and put an ice skater on there when we had nothing to do with ice skating. And I think you'll be fine, just make sure that it's relevant to where they are and what they're doing. They don't need to see something that's like, oh, it's a cute puppy. Like I'm going to click on it. They just want to see something that's going to help them out. Like just make their jobs really easy.
Mhm. Okay, we got another question. How do you qualify success for these pages, especially to justify more budget, if you all know that it's just one touch point in this very long journey that you presented?
Yeah. So one of the ways that we do it for some of my other clients is we look at a few signals. So we all have heard of leading indicators, right? So we're always looking for the things that are trending up. When I was reporting, because I had monthly reporting, even though our sales cycles were 90 days, but I had to report on success every 30 days, which didn't seem fair at all. But we looked at a few things, right? So we divided it up into the qualitative and the positive indicators. And then we then looked at some of the lagging effects, right? So the later indicators. And then we looked at like the actual conversion points. So when we were reporting on those, and I'm going to stop sharing so I can like see everybody's face. All my Zoom controls are like in 15 different directions. Okay. So in the early indicators, this is where I talk about those consumption metrics, right? So when we're looking at heat map data, we're looking at the ICP that's coming to the page. Those are things that we used to report on. I remember I was like, hey, when we first started this campaign, we had 33% ICP density. And this was pre AI, and my paid ads partner and I would sit and look at the list of people that would submit forms or come to our pages. And then manually, he would go and exclude them from LinkedIn ads. Not this person, not this company, not this person. But doing that exercise, we did it weekly and it got us to 66% ICP density. That's moving in a positive direction, right?
Mhm.
There are other things too where people are like, oh, GA4 or website analytics, but those can be really telling. And I'm not talking about bounce rate. No one cares about that. But if you're talking about repeat visits from a user, right? Maybe in the beginning, people were coming to your site and you have the returning visits, right? That were showing. So your returning visits were 1.5. Now they're going to 3.5, right? That's moving in a positive direction. People are returning and they're consuming information. What are the pages that they're consuming? The first step, second visit, third visit, right? Those things exist. Using a platform like yours, what accounts are coming? What's the density of accounts? Do they match what our ICPs are? Even them visiting multiple times, very good signal. Finally, if they don't convert on the main landing page because they can't find it, right? Maybe I found some options on Monday. My one-on-one with my boss is on Thursday. I'm not keeping the tabs open the whole time. I've taken some notes and I'll talk to her about it along with 45 other things I want to talk to her about. Thursday comes, I can't find the landing page again. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to ZenABM's main page. And my boss is like, yeah, go ahead and get a demo with them. Click, get a demo, right?
Mhm.
Direct gets the attribution, paid doesn't. We cut the paid budget. So we used to have a chart that had paid, is direct also going up? So looking at that. Now, Pranav from Paramark, he shares a lot of good information and data on how to do this, how to start looking at the correlation, causation, those types of things. But we used to do a lot of those where it was I would have a qualitative and then I would have a quantitative with like then the deals, the MQLs, whatever. But that's what we were looking at. Are we trending in the right direction? For example, this was final example, which is we launched a Meta Cappy at my last job. And we ran all these ads, all this stuff. No one converted. It was a $100,000 pilot. Anyway, and we were like, my boss was like, okay, can you get me at least 10 ops with this? I was like, yeah, easy, easy. Our cost per opportunity is $5,000. Like I can definitely get you 10. Great. Didn't even get a single conversion. Okay. Forget about opportunities. I was crapping my pants going into my reporting meeting with my CMO. Then I pulled up and I was like, okay, here's all the data stuff. And then my CMO said, well, what about all the Meta Cappy content on the site? How has consumption been on that? And then we pulled it up, and this blog we wrote about Meta Cappy 2 years ago had like a 500% increase or something. So people were researching it, coming behind the ads, reading that information on that, right? To try to learn and understand what's happening there. So those are things where it's like we can't control the journey. We can only supply them with the right information. And that's what we need to make sure that's there. But then what is reasonably the right amount of information lean marketing teams can put out there? This is what it is.
Mhm. We have a question that kind of again ties to what you just said, which is if the customer exits the landing page, can they find it again by visiting your homepage? Like, do you link your landing pages anywhere, or are they kind of living like these siloed, we speak about one thing entities?
Yeah, I usually hide them. And the reason that I do that is because here's my in terms of priority and who I care about. It's the buyer first, obviously. The second is the marketer. And that's why you'll see you can send everybody this deck and stuff after, it's fine. But in the testimonial area, the way I split up my testimonials are company win and marketer win, because I was the marketer who was suffering in-house. Did I look good? Did this person make me look good? Did the landing pages make them look good? Like, those are the things that are important to me. I was very bogged down by stakeholder approval when I was in-house. I felt like it was the thing that stopped every good idea. Anytime we'd have a great idea, it was like, well, let's run this by XYZ. And I knew it was dead. The minute that happened, I knew it was dead. The landing pages were one area where I felt like I could get away with running tests with a concentrated group of either accounts or target list or whatever the case was, without having to go through this huge approval process. Because if somebody did see it out in the wild and they're like, what the hell is this? I could say, oh, we're just testing it. We're just testing it. It's fine. We're just testing it. It's just temporary. And so I'm very much an advocate for create this like little ecosystem and microsite of paid landing pages with these different stages where you, the marketer, can rapid test, make changes, put in the stuff that you're like, yeah, this is good. And give yourself that grace too. And then go into these reporting meetings with actual data that you can supply and then say, hey, I think we should make this change to the main product page because this is what I saw in my little test. You'll find that your leadership is far more forgiving when one, they've known that you're proactive with testing. Two, it's a concentrated sample size and you're not doing it on the homepage where they're going to get a bunch of questions. And three, you bring data to back it up and you make it seem like it's their idea. So those things really worked, well for us in doing that. And so that is something that I do. So in the landing pages, with each one, if you look at we do a anchored nav, but we also do a what I call a minimal footer. And the minimal footer is not the entire site's footer. It is this, which you can see are just links to the other landing pages because buyers go between stages all the time, right? So if we're looking at, hey, I want to compare the options, that'll go to the comparison page. Hey, I want the testimonials. Okay, you're going to go to the review page. Oh, maybe I'm ready for a demo. Oh, wait, I'm not ready. Actually, wait, what are the human resources use cases? So you'll see we're very selective about where we allow the exploration within this ecosystem of landing pages without the distraction of the main site that's going to have like the gated ebook. Oh, there's some feature launch. There's another product launch. Oh, there's some dumb award we won that no one cares about. Like without all of those distractions, we're able to curate this experience for them that's just so core to the product.
Do you not send them to the homepage at all via the logo, for example, then?
No, logo, we have to that because that's a compliance requirement. So we have to give them an exit point. So yes, the logos will link to the homepage. If they want to click on that, that's fine. But they can get back to these only via the ads. And we do that because we want to control the number of people who are coming here and make sure that MJ's mom doesn't try to come here.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Next question. Veronica asks about your thoughts on personal-based landing pages. Are you seeing them work better these days or platform is still strong?
Uh, Personal or platform?
Persona-based. So kind of
Oh,
like I think
persona
the kind of
based.
like a persona, yeah, it's kind of like the who, I guess, not where.
Yeah, so persona when it comes to like human resources or like internal comms and stuff, that's different than the who in terms of like task bober, right? Like so I'm trying to tell us to get away from the token based personalization because that doesn't really help anybody. And anytime you're stuck and you're like, okay, is this going to help someone make a buying decision? That should be your gauge for everything. You using my name doesn't help me make a buying decision. You saying, for, my product for B2B marketers, yeah, that probably will help me make a buying decision because it's going to house use cases that are specific to me as a B2B marketer. So those are things you need to think about and ask yourself. It is completely dependent on the company. Okay. So for Unily, for example, we looked at what are their best chance opportunities. And so Unily was like, oh, we could go vertical based, we could go persona based, we could go product based because they had the internet and like everything else. So then we looked at what's the competition because they are primarily on search and LinkedIn. We looked at the competition. We're like, okay, your competitors are going vertical based or they're going more broad product based. But based on search volume for you specifically, where you've won deals, what those entry points are, it seems to be this internal champion or the IT champion or the persona that's coming in first because of a specific use case around that. So that's why we decided to go persona based. I have another client, ETQ, very competitive industry. They're in the QMS space, so quality management, right? Okay, these are legacy, like quality management's been there before I was born. Okay. And so very competitive, very legacy product. How do you compete with that? When we looked at the opportunities, they're so big and deep. Like there's so many different ways you can go with it. But we're looking at what are their best niche opportunities. And we found that when people were looking for them, they were using qualifiers of verticals. So they were looking at manufacturing QMS, automotive QMS. We're like, okay, the search volume is a lot lower than just QMS, but it's ripe. It's like 300 to 500 search volume. It's dense. They're looking for that specific vertical. You guys shine here. We went vertical specific pages. So it really depends on your company, where the opportunities lie, and then testing your positioning around that, right? So we might try and verticals might suck, but we have another option. But this is kind of our best bet that we're taking in the beginning.
Mm.
So we help like map those out too in the beginning before we even make a recommendation of what those pages are.
Mm. There is a question that ties back to the example you showed. It goes like this. If the why ask could be a block within the landing page, would you still include the book a demo CTA or only why ask? Like, what's the ultimate objective? Or the book a demo CTAs is just softer on the final let's get married landing page buyer stage?
Get married. I wish my husband put together let's get married landing page. That would be hilarious. Okay, for the Brock AI example, I'm assuming we're talking about that. Um, I had this conversation with them like an hour before I got on this call, and it was the same thing. I said, what you're doing above the fold in the hero is you're already making three asks of them, right? Try, book, see why us, see why we're so great. That's overwhelming for a user. They don't know if they're missing out on something. Like, oh, if I try it now, but if I talk to someone, will I get more features? Oh, but if I hit Y, like, am I going to go away from this and then not have the opportunity? There's this like, it's like this UI anxiety, where it's like you're on Instagram, you're doom scrolling reels, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to this person's profile, but like, am I gonna? Someone sent me a message. If I go out of this, am I gonna lose the reel that I was just on? I mean, it's just like this anxiety, and so you need to make them feel like safe in that decision and what they're doing. So what I had told them to do in that audit was you pick the thing that is your priority. Do you want to have a conversation with them because you think that goes better? Do you want them to try the product out for free? Do you want to guide them on selling what you are because you're new in the AI coding assistant space? Those are things that you need to ask yourself. Well, they said, oh, we'd rather them sign up. We find that that's way better, but we put the book a demo there just in case they had questions. I know you're covering your bases, but there's a way to do that. So what they're going to do now is, okay, try for free. Why us? Consolidate into a block that's on the page. Right next to it, it'll say try again. So if you have the same CTA and it's going to the same place, name it the same. Don't do one as try and the other one is sample or whatever. If it's going to the same place, name it the exact same because we don't want to create unnecessary FOMO and friction. As they're going through the story, in the bottom, in the CTA block, you can say, you can sign up for free. This is what happens when you sign up for free. And then say, do you have a special use case? Talk to someone on our team. And so you can offer up the conversation secondarily if they have questions, more like a guide, more like support versus you're going to miss out on something. But if you're like you've read through everything and you're like, I have a weird use case and I'd rather talk it out with someone, offer that option, but don't do it without any context, right?
Hmm. Okay, I gotta ask a question because obviously we're guilty of all of the sins you just listed.
Yeah.
But the question is like I was kind of asked to put the login button like literally, so sign up is one thing, but logging in is another thing.
Mhm.
Like how bad of a practice or how good of a practice is to split these two? Because essentially you go to like whatever.com and then just like slash login slash sign up. It's kind of the
Yeah.
same form.
Yeah. So on landing pages, typically you're going to be sending prospects to your landing pages, right? Unless for some reason you have some customer campaign.
Hmm.
However, we're going to have a little issue here because initially I would have said don't put the login info there because you're likely sending it primarily to prospects, right?
Hmm.
But now Google's policy requires a login on these landing pages. Okay.
Oh.
So maybe we can send the article out. It's an article from February 2025, talks about the importance of navigation on landing pages. You can look that up. You can read this article. Some of it I was reading, I was like, no, this is the worst. And some of it I was like, okay, you know what? That makes sense. That benefits the user. It's great. So that's one of the things where it says if you do have a type of product that requires a login, you have to make sure that the login is accessible to the user. So in Brock's example, on their this is their homepage, so it's different because you can have a lot more, on the homepage. But we'll just assume this is a landing page. Right next to the Brock Now, you need to have some kind of login thing. So some of my customers will do existing customer question mark. Even if it goes to the same page, say the try Brock Now goes to slash sign up and the login goes to like the login and they're both the same page. Just having them in two different experiences here, at least the page will tell you how you can split the traffic up, right? Because the people who are saying I'm an existing customer versus someone try now, the page itself, hoping you have all the conversion tracking set up appropriately, will split the traffic and let you know. But that's also a good way for you to understand, dang it, there's something wrong with my targeting because for some reason, a lot of my customers are coming to this page and they really don't need to
Mhm.
be, right? So every data point that you have is ammunition. It's like it's an opportunity to learn. Don't like fret it. It is something to figure out. Here's like a bonus one where it's like I used to put everything in tabs like this because I'm like, this is great. I'm going to save real estate. People aren't scrolling, yada, yada, yada. 40 landing pages later, I find out uh, people aren't clicking on tabbed blocks. And I'm like, my whole website that I was in charge of before I went out on my own, it's just like tabs everywhere. And every time I see it now, I cringe. I'm like, how much of this website and the value props are not getting read because people aren't clicking on tabs? So now you'll see like all of mine are like the information needs to be on the page as much as possible. So,
Mhm.
not like we can do design, but not in terms of cannibalizing um, the copy.
Okay, so it
Yeah.
shouldn't stay hidden. Okay, cool. In the hero section, is it advised to have a video or an image or an animation? Maybe there is a best practice here.
Okay, this is going to be bad news for a lot of people. And my friend Sahil at Spiralize, he runs a company as well for more like rapid A/B testing, and he has tech that like skims 78,000 websites or whatever with A/B testing. So he and I like collaborate a lot because we're obviously in the landing page space together. Both of us found me in my individual qualitative tests and him in his 78,000 A/B tests that video does not do well on landing pages. Sorry, guys. I know. But if you have to put a video on there, then make it under 2 minutes. So the shorter, the better. The ones that tend to work best are obviously product imagery, but where it is visible and clear. So, like a little blurry screenshot is not going to do it. I just partnered with this one agency that launched like a product shot service where they make your product screenshots look nice. They did it on my website. It's like a really cool thing because like my clients ask all the time. I'm like, do you have a better image? And they say no. And I'm like, okay, what if I had really nice imagery made for you. And they're like, well, our product's so ugly. And I'm like, you can make a product look good, at least when you're trying to tell the story, right? So we've done that. And so that's good. Illustrations are good as long as it's not too busy and too distracting and it actually tells the story and the point. Interactive demos do really well. So that's something people do love to interact with them. You can offer that up a little bit low on the page. GIFs do really well because you're showing a single feature, right? Like here's where you go for reporting. And it's just a loop that does goes over and over again. It's really
Mhm.
lightweight, so it's not a huge burden on your website. They do really well. Like with Snagit, it was like baller. We just did little GIFs, and it just got the message across really quickly. The end. But you're not like restricted to like a single screenshot. You're like
Mhm.
doing this, so I'm imagining you have a ton.
Yeah, no, we don't have it on, but we have like this animation of that on our hero on homepage that kind of shows
Yeah.
what we do. So yeah, I'm happy to hear this.
Yeah.
Anyway, one last question I see. If you guys have any other questions, this is the time to ask because we're already over time. So the question is quite simple. I got a bit confused by the idea of not optimizing by conversion. No need for long explanation, but like a super quick example.
Yeah, so if most of the B2B journey is done before they convert, right? They've done their research, they're looking on Reddit, they've seen your reviews, they've talked to some peers, they've gotten all of this stuff done. Then they decide, okay, I'm going to convert now. And then you're like, wow, okay, so they came to the site and then they converted, and I'm going to optimize based on the conversions. You're kind of doing it a little bit too late in the journey, right? If you're trying to then optimize and say, oh, I bet you if we just removed this form field, they'd convert more. No, it wasn't the form field that got them to convert more, the button color or like what headline you tested. It was all the stuff that came before that. So when you're optimizing, I always say look at what they're consuming and how. Just because someone is not converting on a page and they're bouncing, that doesn't mean that that page failed. That means you need to probably look at other data points, right? Like the product overview page I showed you, that has the lowest conversions of any of my clients' pages. But it's okay because it's usually a first touch point page. They're learning about the product, then they go. So, what is the next step that they're taking? Okay, they leave. Maybe the account comes back. Now they're looking at the comparison page. So, if you have a tool like yours and you see Wells Fargo's on the product page, maybe a week later, suddenly they're on the comparison page. Then they're going, that doesn't mean that just because they didn't convert on the product page, they're not interested and now we have to do something crazy or kill the page. It's just that they're going through the motions. We just got to be patient because the journey is not something that we can always track. It is some, but we can supply them with the information. So look at how they're consuming information on the page. Use heat maps, screen recordings. I love to look at screen recordings. Just watch a few every day. I watch them on my own website. It's crazy, you know? And so just see like where they're getting stuck. What are they actually hovering on? What are they doing? That's going to give you so much indication of this is good piece of content. This is not. This is what I need to move up. This objection matters more than the other ones. I'm going to rearrange it. This feature matters more to them. That kind of stuff, along with collaborating with sales and what they're hearing in these calls, and then using that hypothesis on these pages, and then again seeing next 2,000 sessions, how are they consuming now the new information. So for Snagit,
Mhm.
when we did that with the objections and we made it its own block, right, on the page, that fourth FAQ, then we saw the purchases go up by 265% because it was the biggest objection and we handled it. If we just waited for conversions and optimized it based on the conversions, like they were a lot lower, we could have, I guess, but we would have never gotten that information if we didn't look at how they were consuming the information on the page. So that's what I mean. So hopefully that was a good explanation. I know by overtime you can always hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to go over it again and give you like maybe an example using your page or something.
There is a last question we're taking. It is about an example. What about like one-to-one ABM landing pages when you go after a specific company? How personalized should you go if you have these like super high ACV accounts you're going after?
So that's where I'm like, I just don't think that you necessarily need like a Wells Fargo's logo on the page. I don't think that moves the needle in any way. If you have like specific use cases or an industry and stuff like that, I still feel like you can scale based on like those specific use cases within the industry without having to pull in stakeholder names, and some companies are really weird about that. Like I had this one company, it was like a hotel chain, and then we used their name and their logo, and they like issued us a C&D because we used their stuff without asking, like, just stuff like that. So like don't even get into that situation where you're spending effort in a thing that's not going to pay off. So when you're doing the one to one or one to few or one to many, whatever, stage progression is the best way to do it because the stages don't change. They're always going to like look and evaluate these different options, and it's your job to provide the information to them in order to justify the purchase, not justify like, look at how smart we are by using your name. It's like, hey, we get it. You have this primary problem. Maybe it's Wells Fargo's your target account. Then the financial services vertical. We have this financial services kind of page that talks about the specific use cases and problems there. Wells Fargo is going to be happy with that. They probably share the same issues, right? As well, Wells Fargo probably shares the same thing as Huntington Bank. You can now, the same landing page can serve both of them. You can use a tool like yours to understand which account is going to which page without having to like do the one to one over and over again. I still feel like there's this thing where we're under so much pressure to scale, but the whole thing, I feel like ABM is not synonymous with scaling. Like the whole reason for account based marketing is to be unscalable, to be catering to one person. It's like when you find out that the guy you're dating is using the same pickup line with six other girls, like it's not so special anymore. So, like, you know what I mean? So it's just like that. It's that kind of thing where it's like, rather than that, rather than focusing on the wrong details, just find the right commonalities, and then you'll handle the scale part and handle giving them what they need. I don't think you need a one-to-one unless like we get to a sales room kind of stage where like the salesperson's like putting in material specific to them. Even those I feel like they're pretty standard. If you're creating new stuff for every new account, like what are you selling? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is it so different for everybody?
Gotcha. All right. We don't have any more questions, so we can wrap it up. Thank you, Tas, for your time and all the knowledge you shared with us. And we're gonna have the recording up by the end of the day. If you guys have any more questions for the ones who stick till the end, put them on Slack, ask Tas on LinkedIn directly. We'll link her profile in the resource center as well. And yeah, thank you, and thank everyone for tuning in.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.